preparing Day of the Dead bread or Pan de Muerto, and we have an amazing guest today with us to help us prepare it.
Hi, my name is Jess, and I am the sketch visual arts artist associate. Today we're going to make Pan de Muerto, or Bread of the Dead, as Quina was saying. And we're going to just show you a little bit of what the tradition is that we've been celebrating here for about 5 years now.
Yes. Okay, let's get to it. So for the first step of the recipe, we have to mix the first sugar, the warm water, and the yeast.
So we have the yeast right over here. There's some warm water. And then we have a little bit of this sugar. Just want to mix it well.
Lovely. So once it's all good mixed, we're going to put it in a warm spot. A good place for a warm spot will be on top of your stove if your oven is still on. Just for 15 minutes, you want the yeast to activate and start foaming. Now that all your yeast is foamed and ready, we're going to go to the next step. And for the next step, we're going to put our flour in the center of your table. And you're going to do a volcano shape. And you're going to pour in the center your yeast mix. I'm doing the version that have eggs, and Jess is going to be doing the version that have egg substitute. The sugar and the salt. In this case, I'm going to put the eggs.
For the egg substitute, you can use flaxseed. You can also use just egg substitutes that you might find in the store, as well as just oil and cornstarch as well.
And we're going to put at the end the warm milk with the butter. In this case, we're using vegan butter. And I think Jess is using oat milk, but you can also substitute it by soy milk or almond milk as well. And the last ingredient, we're going to put
it's an orange blossom essence or agua de azar. This ingredient is what gives it the very taste of what it should taste like. It also has a lot of meaning. The orange blossom essence is supposed to represent the tears of the dead, or the eternal tears of the dead.
You can also substitute them by orange juice if you're not able to get the orange blossom oil. So now that you have your liquid in the center, start mixing, scratching the walls from the inside your volcano little by little. You see how your liquid is very runny right now, and you don't want that. Otherwise, you don't want to break your volcano. Otherwise, the water will spill all over. So you just want to mix little by little. Then the flour mix with the liquid, and the liquid will get thicker and thicker, and at the end it won't be running.
If you don't have a counter to make the volcano, feel free to make it in a bowl and contain it there as well. Both ways would work.
Definitely.
So this celebration of Day of the Dead, we do it every year in the 1st and 2nd of November in Mexico. However, this celebration is celebrated in different ways all across the world as well. Even in Mexico, you will find different types of traditions depending on what region you are and how it's celebrated across indigenous and mestizo culture. Day of the Dead is the time of the year where the portal between the living and dead opens, and the dead can come back and celebrate with you, and you use this time to really remember them. And there's a lot of symbology and a lot of different kinds of things that we do every year for the tradition. And we've been celebrating it at Sketch as well.
The altar that we prepare, it has 3 levels. One is from the underworld, one is from the round world, and the one on the top is for the heaven.
Yeah, for like the God world.
For the God world, yeah.
Mictlan, which is the underworld, which is where the spirits go, is originally what was celebrated through colonization and the imposition of religion. In Catholicism, a lot of the traditions started shifting into having Catholic elements to it rather than some of like what the cosmology was before. So instead of it being the underworld or the living world and the God world, it was heaven, purgatory, hell, those things.
So if your dough is a bit wet, feel free to add more flour to it just to dry it out a little bit so it won't be sticky in your hands. I'm using a spatula just to pull it up. As Jess said, you can use a bowl that will give you perhaps a bit more control if you don't have a countertops.
So this bread, you would start seeing it being sold around this time of the year. Sometimes all the way since September and October. Definitely it's eaten during the celebration of Day of the Dead. But it's also something that you put in the ofrenda every year, which is the offering that we were talking about for all the people who you are celebrating and remembering.
On the ofrenda, you put the favorite food of the person you want to remember. And there is also like traditional foods like Day of the Dead bread, mezcal, some type of fruits, and it's also some decorations like the one we have in the back or the sugar skulls that we also have made here at Sketch. You can see some here. These ones are from the last year.
There's also candles that represent the guidance of the spirits as they're traveling. And there's also smells. So one of the flowers that are used are cempasúchil flowers or marigolds. These marigolds, the smell, and as they're being harvested in their death process, it represents kind of like the ongoing life as well.
So once that your dough is ready, you take a bowl and you are going to spray some oil in it, or if you prefer just with an oily rag, put your dough, cover it with oil as well to avoid it will form a crust, and we're going to cover it and we're going to leave it on a warm spot to double its size, and it will take between an hour to 2 hours.
This recipe will give you enough for 2 breads.
Awesome. Now after 2 hours, an hour and a half have passed, and you can see the dough how it has grown. You can leave it how it is right now. You can leave it still another half an hour if you feel, but in this case I think it's perfect. So now we're going to portion it in 3 equal parts.
Awesome.
And I will do 2 bowls for the bread, while Jess will be doing the decorations for it.
So for the decorations, what you want is that you want to have 2 small circles that are going to sit at the top of the bowl. I would say that this is a good size for them. Let's see. And then we're going to have this, you can cut it in half and then cut it in half again. We are going to make our bones with this. So the decorations represent bones and a skull. These bones are just kind of like the same remembrance that you would see all across the celebration. The way that you do the bones is that you make really long lines like this. You're going to make 2 of these per bread. So like this. And what you want to do is that you want to make sure that as you're making them longer, each end is a little bit more bulgy, and like that's because they are supposed to look like bones. So we have just like this. Perfect. So now that we have our 4 bones and our full skulls, we're going to start positioning them on top of the egg. So usually for the non-vegan version, you grab an egg and break it. If you can grab me a little bit of milk.
Yes.
Awesome. ¿Y tienes algo para tu brush? So the egg, and for now we're going to use milk because these are the vegan ones. We're going to use some oat milk. This is to bind them together and kind of glue them together. So there's different ways of decorating with sugar or other ways, but the way we're going to do it today is just by binding the bones. So I'm going to grab some oat milk and I'm going to just spread it all around one of the breads. Then we're going to grab our little bone and we're going to set it atop just like this. Then we're going to grab a second bone. Maybe I'm going to also cover it up with the milk. And we're going to set it up again over top like this. So this 4 kind of like cross, it symbolizes the 4 cardinal points. And you're going to see that symbolically all across the ofrenda as well. And then we grab our little skull head, which is just a little ball. And we're going to position it just right over top our little bread. So here is our first bread for today. And then we're going to do, and you can decorate it. So if you want afterwards, you can just sprinkle some sugar on top. So we have our first scone. We have, I'm gonna put a little bit more milk. Da-da-da. Then we have our second bone. We make the 4 cardinal points right here. And then we grab our little skull head. And position it right here. So these are our 2 panes. They're ready to be put in the oven.
So now that we have our bread ready, we're going to turn off the oven. If you haven't turned it on, 350 Fahrenheit, 180 Celsius, and let it rest for half an hour to proof a little more. And after the half an hour, we're going to put it in the oven for half an hour as well.
It's half an hour, yes.
Half an hour or until the bread is nicely golden on top. So after half an hour in the oven, this is what we get, a delicious Day of the Dead bread. It looks delicious. You can enjoy it with hot cocoa or on
Just
its own.
on its own, with some tea. It's a little bit sweet, but not too much. And you can definitely taste the flowery flavor of the orange blossom, which is a distinct flavor of this bread.
Happy Halloween.
And happy Day of the Dead. I hope you enjoyed and that you can make this bread at home.
Bye guys.
Bye.